Welcome to the Investment 2020 National Apprenticeship Week Q&A film. You may be in year 10 or 11 planning your subjects for sixth form, or maybe in an apprenticeship after school, or you may be in sixth form or college considering an apprenticeship as your next step. Whatever stage you're at, the session today will give you an insight as to what it's like to be an apprentice in investment management. Two fantastic apprentices have joined us today. Would you both like to introduce yourselves?
Hi guys, my name is Nathan Tongwes and I'm actually a Business Solutions Apprentice working for M&G, which is based in London.
Hi, I'm Sophie. I'm an Investment Operations Apprentice at Schroders in London.
Great, thanks both. Before we move on to hear the career journeys of Nathan and Sophie, let's look at what investment management does. What do we do as a sector? Investment management helps people have long-term financial security. It helps people grow the value of their money and make sure that they have enough of it when they need it. For lots of people, this is when they retire from work and no longer have an income through employment. Investment managers pull people's money together and invest it in companies and projects globally to gain a return in investment for their clients. For more information about investment management, you can go to the Investment 2020 website at www.investment2020.org.uk. So it's now time to hear from our apprentices. Both Sophie and Nathan left sixth form and college within the last 2 years and have experienced making career decisions, beginning a role and learning a new job. Let's start with finding out about their decisions to become an apprentice. So Nathan, let's start with you. What were the deciding factors that led you to take the apprenticeship route?
Okay, so in the beginning, the apprenticeship was really not one of my options. In fact, my option was actually to go to university in America to try to get a scholarship. Unfortunately, during that kind of gap year, COVID hit, and so it kind of halted my plans. So one of the things that me and my mum, we discussed was just to talk about alternative actions. So it could be applying here or applying to an apprenticeship. My mum really spoke about apprenticeships, and they were really good, and it was a really good opportunity. So I found out about the M&G apprenticeship via Investment 2020, and I applied for, and then before you know it, all things went well, and I'm actually here talking to you guys.
Fantastic, thanks Nathan. And Sophie, how about you? What made you sure an apprenticeship was your preferred next step?
I never really considered university, as I personally felt it wasn't the right route for me. But whilst I was at sixth form and at school, they really supported apprenticeship as much as they did uni. So I just researched into more of what they was about, and then I just found Schroders through our 2020 as well, and I applied, and that's how I got my job with Schroders.
Perfect, thanks Sophie. And it's so useful to hear from people who are doing apprenticeships and to hear from firms, and that's why this is so important for students in sixth form now to hear these stories. So students often have questions about what to expect from the recruitment process, and every firm will have a slightly different approach, but every firm also wants each applicant to do well and to really have a positive experience throughout that whole recruitment process. Sophie, do you mind sharing what your experience was of the recruitment process for your apprenticeship?
So I submitted my application and my CV, and then after I did that, I received an email to complete an online interview, which is where questions will pop up on the screen, and then you have a minute to prepare and a minute to answer the question. So after I did my online interview, I then had an email invited to attend the assessment centre, where I went from the office from 2 till 10 and did an interview, a group exercise, and then like a networking activity. 20 minutes after I left the office, I then got a phone call from Schroders saying that I'd got the job. So for me, it was quite a quick process.
So that's great. So before you even got home, you got the offer, so you were able to walk through your front door and go, guess what? I've got it.
Yeah, no, it was quite surreal to be honest, because I remember ringing my mum and she went, "Oh, how do you think it went?" And I went, "Oh, yeah, I think it went okay." But by that point, I already knew. And then when I got home and I told her, she couldn't believe it. She was so happy for me.
Oh, that's a lovely piece of news to share, isn't it? That quickly, fantastic. And then Nathan, for you, so in that whole recruitment process piece that we've just heard about, what was the most challenging aspect for you and why?
Okay, so I actually had to do a video interview. So this video interview, basically what it is you actually get a series of questions which is automated, and you have a certain time limit in which you have to answer those questions. I struggled with it because there was no human element to it. It was just you and the computer, and it kind of is difficult because you kind of need to think about how you present, how you look, what you're saying. You have to make sure you look into the camera when you're speaking. You don't want to be looking around the place. All of that, like the small details, could really get to you. But one of the things I actually struggled on personally was just rushing and overthinking, and that kind of led to me not saying enough, or me not saying the things I was supposed to say, and it kind of led to me panicking. But at the end, all things went well, and I'm actually here. But one of the things I can advise you guys is, if you guys come across this step, just take your time, and that's it. That's really it.
Great, thanks, Nathan. And video interviews are tricky, aren't they? Particularly those pre-recorded ones, because as you say, you haven't got that reaction from people who you're speaking to. And the key, if any students are listening now, is to practice a lot. And there's websites out there. Some of the providers who do pre-recorded interviews will give you opportunity to practice on websites, etc. It's definitely worth preparing and practicing, and so that when you do come to do it in real time, you feel calm and you feel like you've got some answers prepared. So thanks for that, Nathan. It's really helpful. So Nathan, thinking about this, and you've done your assessment centre, you've done your pre-recorded interview, and you've had your proper interview, and you've been offered the job, so you're very happy about that. And then you've obviously got some time between you've been offered the job and actually when you start at M&G. So what type of support did you get in advance of your first day?
Okay, so I got various support from MNG and Investment 2020. So Maria Wilcoxon, who is actually the apprentice coordinator of MNG, she hosted some of the sessions where we got loose to how MNG operates in terms of the systems, going through again the cultures and values and all of that. We also had the opportunity to meet our team before we actually started as well, and as well as get used to the system, because we were given company equipment as well. So for us to get familiar with the system, meet various different apprentices, and meet our team, meet our colleagues, and etc. So, and sorry, oh my gosh, can I still carry on?
Yes, please.
Okay, so in terms of Investment 2020, we got a lot more opportunities in terms of learning about asset management and investment management, which were really helpful. Yeah.
No, that's great. And I think that's a really good overview, Nathan, because we all like to have a bit of prep, don't we, before we start our first day? We like to have met certain people and to know who the team is. And certainly if any young people who are listening now, any students listening now who are thinking that actually an apprenticeship in investment management and going via Investment 2020 is a good idea, one of the things that we will do is we will make sure you meet other trainees and apprentices starting at the same time, plus some people who've gone through the programme, to give them advice and guidance and hear tips from others, and to give you an introduction to the sector. So your first day, you feel like you already know a little bit and you feel a bit more confident as well. So there's a lot of support there from Investment 2020. So Sophie, then thinking to your first day as an apprentice. So you've gone through the recruitment process, you've told your mum, you've walked through the door, I've got the job, and then you find yourself on day one. How did you feel?
I remember walking in and it's quite a grand building, and I just remember feeling really nervous, and it was quite overwhelming because I felt like a new kid on the first day of school again. But I remember like it was almost comforting knowing that there were so many other trainees and apprentices starting on the same day as me too. So we had an induction day for the first 2 days to like ease us into the company and understand what asset management was. We also learned about like the HR procedures, where to go to, just basics about like canteen, how all of that works, just bringing it back to basics. And then that afternoon, at lunchtime, we met with our managers, and then everyone was just networking and getting to know everyone. So, you know, it was really welcoming.
That's great. And, you know, you both started in different circumstances. You know, you started with your first day in the office, as you've been at Schroders for almost 2 years coming up to now. Whereas Nathan, you started remotely at M&G because you started within the pandemic. Can you tell us a little bit more about what your experience has been working remotely?
Okay, it's kind of, well, I can't really I can't really tell you how it is in the office because I've never actually been to the office. But what I can tell you from home is they actually provide you with so much help. M&G, one of the things that they actually do is they prioritize your mental health. So they will provide sessions and provide activities to ensure that you know, you are obviously not only you're doing work, but obviously making sure your well-being is pretty much vital. And obviously having meeting with various different apprentices, especially from Scotland. So that's one of the benefits of obviously working from home is I'm actually able to speak more with the Scottish apprentices than I would if I were working in the office. So again, being able to communicate with various different people, different people, and then just having that one-to-one kind of session. But that's what I can say. That's how I can say it in terms of the video. I mean, in terms of this working from home.
No, that's perfect. And I think you hit on a really important point there, that the remote working has provided actually opportunities to connect with a broader group of people that perhaps you wouldn't always do if you were just in the office. And, you know, Sophie, you're now working from home as well, as, you know, we all are. And I think we've all taken lots of positives from that experience too. That's great. Thanks so much. So it'd be good to know a little bit more about your actual roles, because a job title doesn't necessarily tell you very much in terms of what does that mean day to day as such. So Nathan, can you tell us exactly what you do? What is a business analyst?
Sorry. Okay, so essentially what we do as a business analyst is obviously we launch new funds. So these funds include institutional, which are from financial institutions like investment banks or insurance companies, as well as retail funds. So to public to retail people in terms of people from the public like you and I. And we also deliver on discretionary mandates. So in discretionary mandates, obviously when the client, the investor has given us given us the investment we have the investment decision to obviously invest on their behalf. So that's pretty much the gist of what we do.
That's great. Thanks so much. And Sophie, if you explain a little bit of what your role, you know, what sorts of skills that you need to do in your job to do your job well.
I'd probably say the skills that we need is good communication, as in my team, we do have to communicate with lots of other teams across Schroders. So communication's a big one. Organisation and prioritising tasks, because some tasks will be urgent, some won't be as urgent. So just knowing which to act upon first is obviously really important. And attention to detail as well, because you have to make sure like what you're sending is right and making sure that everything is in line as how you expect it to be.
Absolutely. And in investment operations, which is the side of the business you work in, isn't it, Sophie? All of those skills are so important. And Nathan, I'm sure you're sitting there thinking, yeah, those skills are the sorts of skills I use day to day too. And I think if you're listening as a school leaver hoping to come into the sector, you know, those are the skills that most employers will be looking for in terms of new people coming through onto apprenticeship programs. And they're the sorts of skills that you can draw upon evidence from your project work at school or college, or perhaps any part-time jobs or volunteering. So all of the things you're doing at the moment will certainly give you an opportunity to evidence the types of skills that Sophie has outlined there. That's great. Thank you, Sophie. So just moving on, Nathan, has there been a moment since you joined M&G that's made you kind of stop in your tracks and go, hang on a minute, wow, I've started my career in a global investment manager straight from school? Has there been a moment where you've had to stop and go, wow, I've done it?
Pretty much is actually every day, you know, communicating with my line manager and communicating with various different team members. I kind of realizes that, yeah, this is real. There are real consequences and you have real responsibilities. That's the most important thing. What else? But to be honest with you, it's just when you meet in schools or in schools especially, one of the things it does is that you meet with people your own age, going through the same certain circumstances, all of that. When you work within the kind of like investment management, you're meeting people from various different life stages, and they may have children who are your age as well. So it's just kind of like, wow, I'm communicating to I mean, these are my colleagues, but like I work with them, and it's just like, it's amazing, really.
That's great, isn't it? Because when you go to work, the workforce is so diverse, isn't it? And it's just such a different environment to school or college. But it sounds as though you've adjusted and adapted brilliantly well, Nathan. Sophie, what's been your wow moment?
I'd probably say I remember when I first started and I was out with some of my friends and they was asking me like, oh, how's your new job and everything? And one of them went, oh, look, what company is it you work for? I went, Schroders. They went, I can't believe that you work there. I went, what do you mean? They went, it's such a big firm. Like, that's really, really good that you managed to get it. And at the time, I felt really embarrassed, and I shouldn't have felt embarrassed, but it was just because it was like, that's when it clicked, and I thought, this is actually like, I'm working for such a big company. But yeah, no, after that, I just felt really proud of myself that I'd managed to get there in the end.
As you should be proud as well, and you too, Nathan, for going through the process and starting your careers. It's fantastic. So just thinking about now the sort of qualification and the studying part of the apprenticeship, because both of you are studying for qualifications and you've got exams coming up imminently as well for both of you. So Sophie, can you just talk us through how this works for you in practice? Do you get a certain amount of time off to study? How do you manage that in your week?
So I have found, like me and my manager, that allocating an hour or two out of my day across the week to study, that's the best way working for us, because you're meant to allocate 20% of your time weekly to studying. So a part of this, you have to do 3 exams for the one that I'm currently doing, which is the IOC. I've completed my first one and I'm currently studying for my second one, and then the third exam is optional. So there's 13 different topics that you can choose from, but you just do it based on what you're most interested in.
That's great. So you've already passed your first one. You've currently got your second exam coming up. Fantastic. And the IOC is the Investment Operations Certificate, which is very standard first qualification that lots of apprentices will take in investment management. And Nathan, what about yourself? How does the studying work for you?
Yeah, so just like Sophie, I am taking the actually same exam, but I'm taking the first one, the IOC. We have 20% allocated time, so what I've done is taking the 2 afternoons in terms of Thursday and Friday off. Also within that 20%, we also have to attend compulsory webinars as well. So my webinars prior to my first exam was every Mondays from 2 to 4. So again, you kind of have that time to study, and any questions you have in terms of the exams, in terms of topics, you can ask your webinar leader there.
That's great. So it's a real mix, isn't it? It's about what works well for your job and your department, and also for you as well in terms of how you study, because everyone studies in a slightly different way. And as you said, Nathan, you're having webinars that go alongside some of that studying. And Sophie, I know you've had some in the past, and there's some self-directed piece as well, where you need to sit down with your books and do some revision, etc. Okay, that's really helpful. Thank you. So to finish off, what would be your one piece of advice to students who are currently thinking about their next step after sixth form? Nathan, do you want to go first?
Yeah, one of the things that people say to me, especially within the interview, was they really like the fact that I was able to relate to the company's core values and the team's work ethic, because with M&G, the core values are care and integrity, and that's one of the things they actually really value. And within my team, they wanted to show, within the team, they wanted to see how I worked as a team, so teamwork. I guess what I'm trying to say is you should really research the company's core values and research what they do, as well as the job role, because they will ask you some questions revolving around that, and also you can also relate some of your skills to prior to these kind of skills, and you can really show out, and you can really be singled out based on that. So
no, that's great, perfect. And so Nathan's referring to the values and core beliefs of organisations. And if you're looking at opportunities right now for apprenticeships, do spend some time looking at the firm's website and find out about their values and beliefs too. Sophie, what about you? Any tips?
One of my big ones is probably just be believing in yourself and believe that you can get the job, because these jobs that you will be applying for, the companies do just genuinely want friendly young people that are wanting to learn, willing to learn, and that's what they're mainly looking for, and people that are willing to work hard, because if you work hard, you will be rewarded for it in the long run.
That's perfect, and I think that's a brilliant one to finish on. It's about self-belief. You know, you'll have lots of great skills and experiences, and you know, the eagerness to learn that lots of organisations will be looking for, and they're the critical attributes. So no, that's brilliant. Thank you ever so much for sharing that. So Nathan and Sophie have all referred to the Investment 2020 development programme, and this is a series of workshops and talks that will help you participate with other apprentices and trainees from other investment management companies. And being part of Investment 2020 means that you receive opportunities to broaden your knowledge about the whole sector and gain insights on the current industry topics from experts. So as you can see on the slide, there's over 50 employers who support the Investment 2020 programme, and they offer either apprenticeships or the Investment 2020 trainee programme as well. So in terms of, if you want to find out some more information and if you want to receive the latest vacancies on apprenticeships and the trainee programme, you can contact us. The contact details are on the slide there. Visit our website, follow us on social media. Thank you to Sophie and Nathan for sharing your story today, and thank you for your insights and your tips. It's been really, really helpful. We hope this Q&A with our apprentices has been useful for you, and if you're currently looking for an apprenticeship, please do visit our website where you can find out more information about opportunities open for young people and for school leavers. We hope to see you at an Investment 2020 event in the future.